I do not know how best to approach this topic because, yeah, I just don't know. But for those guys who know me, know that I had a sister, a younger one, and she had Down syndrome. So as the months went by, she started getting pneumonia that was recurring, and her body could not fight it, and she succumbed to pneumonia. Eventually, I'll do a video talking about how my sister was born, how we discovered she had Down syndrome, and so on and so forth. But I'll do it at my own time, and when I do, I'll let all of you know to be on the lookout for the video. But for today, I want to talk about a few things I wish I had known about Down syndrome that I know today. Not that anything would have changed or I would have done anything better, but it's always good to know what is happening around you, especially if it is affecting someone who is very close to you, in this case, my sister. First of all, I wish I knew what Down syndrome was, because until my sister was like 3 months, that's when I started having an idea of what she was ailing from, and I knew it was trisomy 21. I didn't even know it was Down syndrome. So I used to be curious about what trisomy 21 was. We didn't have internet. At now, I'll take my parents' phone and go and Google what trisomy 21 was. There were no books. I was in class 8. Biology, I didn't even know anything about biology, you see. So, and when my mom went to hospital, it's like these doctors, sometimes when it comes to such conditions, they rely more on what the parent is telling them than what they know. I'm not certain that they really took time to explain to my parents what my sister was suffering from, or what to expect and what not to expect. And so the turn of events, like the way things progressed from when she was born to when she passed on, it was like a moment of surprise for us. We were living one day at a time, but also surprises were hitting us one day at a time. The second thing I wish I knew was that there are support groups that support families and parents who have children with Down syndrome. Case in point, there is the Down Syndrome Society of Kenya, and then under them there are parents who have children with with Down syndrome. And so these parents usually meet and congregate to talk about Down syndrome, what they are facing, the challenges, if they should take their children to normal schools, to special schools, milestones that their children are making, and everything and anything that entails the life of the child with Down syndrome, you see. So if that one could have come in handy, like for the 8 months that we had my sister. Another thing is that there are also other people who have Down syndrome. You see, at that time when my sister was diagnosed with Down syndrome, remember, there is no internet, there's little knowledge about this condition. So you have no access to other people who have Down syndrome. So you kind of feel like you are alone, and this is something strange that you are going through, and you're like, what is this? As in, where did it even come from? The next thing is that my sister would have slow development, like it would take time for her to achieve certain milestones. For instance, I think at 7 months she had still not formed her neck, and when she learned that, also at that 7 months she had not discovered like her parts of the body, like her hands or her tongue. There's that stage of growth or development when your child realizes that they have a tongue or the hand and they keep admiring it. That came way later for my sister. Even the way the baby coos and makes some noises, that was way later for my sister. I used to keep wondering why it's taking her so long to achieve certain milestones, like why is her growth so slow. And I remember she needed to go for a heart surgery, and every time she kept being taken to hospital, the doctors kept saying that the surgery had to be postponed because she's not gaining weight as the doctors want to. And I could not understand what we are doing wrong or right, because we are feeding her, we are taking care of her. You see, why isn't she achieving that desirable weight for her to go to surgery. Now I know that my sister had issues with her digestive system, and I think she also had problems with food being absorbed in her body or something. So definitely that adds up to slow growth. The next thing is that Down syndrome is not fatal. Like, you cannot die from Down syndrome. But opportunistic diseases that are associated with Down syndrome are the things that put someone down. Like for my sister, she had Down syndrome. However, she had other opportunistic diseases, and her biggest enemy was pneumonia. So that is what actually took her down. But she also had, it was easy for her to catch a flu, you see. She had a hole in her heart, and this hole in her heart could not be corrected any other way apart from open surgery. And this open surgery could not happen if she had not achieved the ideal weight. It was difficult for her to achieve the ideal weight because Down syndrome is causing slow development. You see, it's like one thing leads to another. It's like a chain web or something, a link. One thing leads to the other. Extra genetic material leads to slow development, leads to low immune system of the child, leads to slow intellectual development, you see. Then you branch those things into, they are going to be susceptible to any disease, they are not going to add weight, they will achieve certain milestones slowly, they will not be able to talk properly. It's a whole range. And you start from having extra genetic material, then it comes branches, you see. And for a child who has Down syndrome and has no these opportunistic diseases or whatever, they grow up and they even go up to the age of 60. Like, their lifespan can go even up to the age of 60 and above. But if they have an opportunistic disease that keeps attacking them, that is worrisome. The biggest change that I did not foresee during that time of my sister was the change in lifestyle and how we did things. Because remember, my sister was in and out of hospital, and so she, like 2-3 days in a week or 4, my parents would be in Nairobi bringing my sister to hospital, because there's that day when you have to travel to Nairobi, then the day to go and see the doctor, then the day to travel. Other times, because of maybe the medication my sister has been given, she has to rest a day before they can travel. You see, so it was like we rarely saw my parents, especially my mom, because my mom had to be with my sister every time. And we also had to include or borrow a routine for my sister, so that because once a child is born and they are diagnosed with Down syndrome, early intervention is necessary. For instance, a physiotherapy, because their bones are born weak and kind of deformed for my sister, and so she needed a physiotherapy as soon as possible. I remember we used to take her to some place in Narumoru. They usually have a thing for where they do a physiotherapy for children, and that was something we hadn't anticipated. You see, who knew that we'd need a sudden change in lifestyle? And you see, this is why it's good that when you know that your child has Down syndrome, if you're lucky to know early, you need to start changing and anticipating for a change in lifestyle, because it's a must and you cannot avoid it. I think that's all I have for today about the few things I wish I had known about Down syndrome when we still had my sister. Yeah, but it's a good thing to learn and to be able to share what I know about Down syndrome. And remember, I am not a doctor. I'm just someone who is sharing their opinion and ideas about this condition. If by any chance any information I share on this forum leads you to feel or see that your child has either of the conditions that I talk about, it is important that you seek the guidance of a medical practitioner, a pediatrician, or a developmental condition specialist. They're going to be able to advise you on what you should do for your child or what you should not do. So do not solely rely on the information that you get from this blog or channel, YouTube channel, Facebook, or whichever other site that belongs to me to diagnose your child. That would be wrong. Always seek the medical advice of your doctor or pediatrician. That is it for today. I hope you learned a thing or two about Down syndrome, and let's keep sharing information. Leave your comments, your feedback. I would be glad to hear from you. And if you have any questions, leave them on the comment section. I will get back to you as soon as possible. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and if you look forward to any more videos that I will create in future, click on the notification bell, and anytime I upload a video, you are going to be the first one to know. So until next time, cheers and have a good one.